I started truthing. I first wrote a book about it. I started telling my truth and being truthful in who I was. I stopped not hiding what I cared about. Like, yes, I went to a march this weekend. I care about Black issues. That does not make me radical or scary.
It's just something that I live. It's just something that I live. It's just something that I live that this world don't live. It's just something that I feel that this world don't feel. I gotta keep it real. J.E.
Welcome to the Let Bob podcast. It's your boy Ant. We got us a special guest today, and it's a topic that I'm excited to hear and learn about. It kind of aligns what we do with Bob and everything we're doing. So it's cool to actually talk to somebody who's in this space and know what we're talking about. We talk about it publicly, but most people don't know what we're talking about. So we got an expert on today who's going to break it down and let the audience know what it is we're trying to make these moves in this corporate community space with, and kind of what corporations have deemed it to be called in the marketplace. Welcome, Miss Randi B. How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Always glad to have a Black woman on to talk about how she's making moves in the marketplace. And you just so happen to be on a topic that just is dear to me, and I dealt with it in the corporate space. So I just want to learn more about it and kind of what your angle is on and what you're doing, and let the audience kind of hear kind of how you can make a move from experience, basically. So,
Go ahead.
So tell us about yourself first. You're in DC, correct?
I'm in DC. I'm really bi-coastal for the most part, but mainly in DC. Also in California a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which one you like? That's opposite. Oh man, that's so opposite.
Yeah, I love DC. You can't be a DEI person, and I just love my Black people. So, DC for me is just heaven. Like I thrive when I'm around us.
Okay. So talk to us about DEI. First of all, let the audience know what that acronym stands for.
It stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. It became a real hot thing after the unfortunate murder of George Floyd, but I've been doing it most of my career. I've been doing it for decades now. I've always been interested in how you get people who are very different to, work together. I definitely, of course, focus on Black folks and how, we fare in, how we fare in the world professionally, right? And how we make it. How do we grow our own businesses? How are we when we're at somebody else's business? And so, yeah, I've taken a little bit of a turn the last 5 years where I'm not so in the corporate world as I am doing what I want to do, because I want to be free to say what I need to say.
Okay. Well, no, that's always good with ownership. It gives you much more flexibility to how can I say, structure your message,
right?
Not get in too much trouble.
Exactly. Well, I've owned my business. I've owned Bryant Consulting Group now for almost 23 years.
Okay.
So I've always worked for myself, but I would go inside corporations and be very acceptable and professional, while also trying to change the world and advocate for, underrepresented, underserved folks. And it's really hard to do. It's almost really impossible, because when you are, having to please the people who hire you, which are typically white males, it's difficult to, at the same time, advocate for us, right? And so the last 5 years, I changed my tune when I got to a point with my business where I didn't have to code switch. I didn't have to deliver the message so nicely. Then I just became buck wild, and I'm saying things that it truly TI is. Yes.
Sometimes that's what it takes to get people attention, sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you got to tell the truth. You got to break it down and, make it real clear, but you can't it's very hard to do that and pay your bills.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, right? That's sad in itself. but it's the truth.
Yeah, which brings us to the next topic. Apparently, you have truthing cards. Can you talk about this and what what's the purpose and how'd you come up with this truthing cards? It sounds like from experience is where it came from, but
Well, yeah,
can you enlighten us?
I have this whole term that is actually being trademarked now called truthing. And I believe that Black people in particular, but anybody who feels as if they are in a somewhat oppressed group is always living a lie, is always having to code switch, is always muting how they really feel or wearing a certain mask. And so I believe that you get the best out of people when they tell their truth, when they live their truth, when they're walking in their truth. And so I just started this term called truthing. And, I was like, when I would talk about how much we love diversity, equity, and inclusion at these companies, really what I told people was, as long as you are acting acting in a way that makes the majority culture feel comfortable, as long as you are stripping parts of yourself, then of course be who you are, which was a lie. And so I started truthing. I first wrote a book about it. I started telling my truth and being truthful in who I was. I stopped not hiding what I cared about. Like, yes, I went to a march this weekend. I care about Black issues. That does not make me radical or scary. And so I also felt like then when we told the truth about ourselves, it allowed people to get to know us, to that's how you create real inclusion, right? This is how when people become close. And it harkened back to me because I have a extraordinarily diverse family, not in the ways most people think about diversity, but we have some people who are as country as a neck bone sandwich, some people who are from like New York and they like proud of it. You have all socioeconomics, all the things. And we got to know each other and really, vibe with each other because we knew each other. We know each other. We're family, and we would debate about stuff, at holidays, but we got along and loved each other. So I said, how can we continue to do that? So I created these truthing cards where instead of talking about like what's happening with Crush On or what's going on with Simone Biles and her man right now, although that is interesting. I just wanted to create cards that were specifically designed for Black people to sit around a table and talk about things, right? So yeah, so that's what they are. They're just cards where we just sit and get each other's viewpoints, because I feel like our community is very separate and segregated. Within our own community, we're segregated, and I think that's because we don't talk to one another, and we've created these fractions of that he bougie or he's educated, or I don't mess around with them, and I want to get it where we're talking to each other and bonding.
So
And
this is so interesting because that's the culture, right? That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna sit around and talk anyway. But I like the idea that you're kind of guiding that discussion, right? So,
exactly.
so feed us one of the. I don't want to spoil it, right? Because I want my own truthing cards. I want to order. So let me give me some cards.
I will send you some. Everybody else can go to Amazon.com or randyb.net, but I'm gonna send you some.
Let me have, because I am the topic starter. So that's why it's so interesting to me. What is? Can you read us an example of one of the cards, or read one of the cards?
One is that one we've been talking about this last week is, does it matter if you have Black Jesus, Black Santa Claus, Black angels in your house, or is it cool to have the white representations? Does that matter? Right? That's actually a real argument I got in with somebody years ago. We've been talking about, does wearing your hair naturally illustrate that you're more comfortable with your Blackness? Because that's another place that we're like separate. Like people are fighting, like, you don't really love yourself if you still getting that creamy crack. Yeah. Another one that I've been fascinated with is it the best choice always for us to live in white neighborhoods, go to white schools and things? Because, we brag, we think we've made it when it's like we're one of only Black people, And I'm like, sometimes it kind of messes us up, right? Or messes our kids up. And like, have you really made it if you're miserable?
Oh, man, you bring hey, I can imagine some of those round
Oh,
things.
yes.
Oh
Or,
man,
if
that's a good one.
if you have married outside of your race, for
Mm,
instance, should that person be allowed to participate in all activities like
wow.
dating? Right? Because I'll be honest, like there have been times where you have a bunch of people and we're in kind of our blackness, our black bubble and stuff, and then someone brings their non-black significant other, and the conversation doesn't flow the same way, right? I mean, I have some friends, they don't care, they're gonna say whatever they want to say, but some of us are a little bit more guarded in what we say.
Yeah.
Um, and so the questions go the range. Of course, the ones with relationships get fiery. Like, do you feel that relationships between a black man and a black woman, or a black couple, is more difficult than a relationship like how other couples have? Like, are we on the struggle love? Are black people on the struggle love? And if so, why?
You get me in trouble.
Oh, those conversations, let me tell you. And then they go just like to the left and right. And, and that's what's supposed to happen. One
Yeah.
question to 500 questions. And so, which is why now I've been filming a show. So hopefully people will be able to watch these conversations. And you got to come be on one of the shows.
Please,
Yeah.
come on. Look, we can't talk about the black relationship card though, because my wife, if I don't say the right answer, then you're gonna get me in trouble when I come back.
I
So
do not want to get you in trouble. So we will not, I will skip that. I'll ask people sometimes, like, are you comfortable with this question? Because people do have spouses and jobs, with jobs
yeah,
sometimes too. So I do, and some of the questions are very innocent. They're not
yeah,
too like, we talk about how music and movies are so big in the black culture. So
yeah,
what is your significant, black movie or song or group? Like, well,
yeah.
how would you, like, what would make you steal someone's black card if they were like, no, I've never seen Friday, or
Yeah,
what?
yeah. That's good. That's good. But that's interesting you say that because movies and music is like the glue of our culture, right?
Yes.
So there's been a lot of noise about The Color Purple, the remake. A lot of people weren't really fancy and excited about them remaking that movie. That's a very, very concrete in the culture movie.
Yes.
But I saw this weekend with my wife and our family, and it was actually a good movie. I like the fact that it wasn't the older movie. Like they had some parts from it, but it was a very good. I like the way they did that. I think if they redo a lot of the older movies like that, I think our culture will be less, hey, leave it alone. Because I think they're talking about making Harlem Nights again. And everybody's
Oh,
like, no, leave Harlem Nights alone, So I could feel what you're saying.
black people don't like change. I tell people this all the time. I said, we go to church and you get somebody up there reading the notes, right? Like the sick and shut in. And I was like, y'all know that started because enslaved people weren't allowed to read. So you usually only have one person reading. We can all read now, right? Like we don't need the woman at the top of the church reading, but we don't like change. Change is very hard for us. So yeah, I can bet that people are upset. I'm going to go see it tomorrow though.
You'll like it. You'll like it. I assure you, you'll find joy in it. It was a good movie.
Cool.
But to your point, change is just hard. I don't know if I think to say we as a culture don't like it. I think because a lot of the times the change is not guided by us, right? We're not the initiator of the change. We're usually conforming to some strategy that's causing the change. I think makes it hard. Um, but it's been an interesting journey watching us because Bob, that stands for Black owned business. So we have a pure focus on the Black culture and Black business owners and supporting them and getting messages out. Like the whole point of our podcast is people like yourself. We want, little Randy at the high school to see, hey, look, you can do this too. She's doing it. Here's somebody who looked like you, who's owning her vision, her dream, and she's making it a thing, right? She's doing it. The narrative generally is be an athlete or an entertainer, and that's kind of what you see dominating the marketplace. But for our podcast, it's about trying to highlight more Black-owned business owners who are doing, a mixture of things. We've had, guests that's doing some everything. Now, you are probably one of my favorites because what you're doing aligns with what our purpose is as a company. Like, we're trying to create ownership, create, a collective in the community amongst people of color. And so to hear, your angle on it, I think is really good. I would love to have your cards and some of our partners, we sit down, our business partners sit down and kind of go through your cards together. So, they can hear the perspective, of people of color. A lot of times they don't know because, they're going off of what they may have heard. But, when you've been Black in America, your attitude and your experience is just, it's just different. I was in corporate.
It's completely different. Our experiences are different. Back to the change thing. I think we don't like change as much because we were stolen from our land. And so everything we have is culture. So it's hard to release that, right? Because it's all we've got. We're not going back, like in Ireland with the kilts. Like we cling on to what we have. So I understand it. Why we're that way. But with the businesses, I'm all about, like, I don't see how you can talk about Black advancement in any way and not talk about Black businesses, because that is the way that we've always made it. I mean, that is the way that we've kind of pulled ourselves up and out, because we don't, we're not as supported as we usually can in a majority owned business. So even within the truthing cards, I ask questions about, finance, money, and businesses. One, like, do we support businesses? Not just do we start businesses, but do we support Black businesses the same way we do other businesses? And why? What is the hold on that? Have our brains been colonized that we automatically think that a brand is superior because it's French, right? Like, just because it's French, and we think that those shoes that are Chanel are better than Randi B's, and my things might be fresh, right? They might have it going on.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Or just I talk about it with some of the cards, the relationships that we have with money, like, our relationship. I mean, that affects all people, but Black people specifically. What has our history in this country taught us about money and how we operate with it, how we see it, how we spend it, and how we value it? What is our connection and our relationship with money?
That's interesting, because I don't think it really is one. I think we are now, really playing with large sums of money for the first time in a macro model, right? So you have Black Wall Street, you had those instances that were micro to just those communities, but now, as a culture, and we make a significant amount of money. And to your point, like, where did you learn about money?
Right.
Who taught you? Who told you? Like, I know for me personally, I'm a country boy. I grew up in a rural country area in a small city called McCalla outside of Birmingham, Alabama. And it was a very village style upbringing, but we didn't talk about money. Yeah, we didn't talk about money. Never learned anything. I learned the hard way.
Why don't we as a community talk about money?
I think because it was always a shortage, right? I read a book. It's called The Outlier, which I think is a really good book. And he talked about, it wasn't so much cultural as it was status. Like, people with money generally teach their kids about money because they know the importance of it as a tool. But if you don't have money, then what are we talking about? Like, that's a thing. You're more so ashamed of it that you didn't have it, or that you can't pay the bills. Like, what you did hear about money is that we have any. You're broke. The lights are off. All these things that go on in our community. I think that puts this whole attachment to money. We talk about change. You ever notice, like, when a Black person will get money, then they cling to it. They generally don't want to share it and kind of try to grow it. They kind of just cling to it because they're afraid of losing it.
Well, I was going to say also, I believe Black people are ashamed when we do have money. I think we're ashamed when we don't, but I think we also can be ashamed if we do.
Yeah.
And, that's why we have these questions, is to really, like, say, what is your truth when it comes to money, to your personal finances, to how you see how you could even grow your money. So, because some people can't start a business because they never even think that that's possible for them. Like they don't even dream in that way when it comes to financial wealth or what's possible.
Yeah, it's all mentality. God's been good to me. I've done really well, and I have nice things. And I can tell you, it's hard. It's hard going around, family and friends sometimes when you have, especially when you're one of the only ones that have. But for me, it's always been more of the psychological part of it. I don't know if it's cultural or if it's the psychological piece. Just because you are one of the only, then it creates this energy when you're around, right? When you have. But if let's say all of your family, had money and you go around, then it wouldn't be uncomfortable. But
let me ask you this. Let's do a little truth.
Okay, let's go. Oh, she done put me on the truth. Let's go.
Because you are one of the only that has in your family, do you feel a responsibility to do more? Like, and so if you all go out and grab, have lunch, whatever, do you feel responsibility to grab the check?
Yeah. So here's a part of that truth and too, right? When I say I'm one of the only ones who have, my family has, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have a good amount, but my family has. Everybody has done well because I'm from a country rural, so everybody owns houses and things like that. And that's what gets it really deep when you start talking about what is have really, right? And what is more. And for me, because I do well, I do have a sense of obligation to pick up the tab sometimes or to help my family with knowledge that I may have access to that they don't, or resources. But that's how it should be. That's how a community becomes stronger. If everybody had that attitude, then we could collectively grow. It's that attitude
Should it be?
Excuse me?
But should it be? That's like, because that's a question, right? That's truthing within our community. We believe that, like, I have 2 sons, right?
Mm-hmm.
I believe that, I don't know if I believe, I've been truthing, trying to figure this out. We usually believe that our kids should give back to their parents, as in the Black community, whereas I think a lot of communities don't believe that. Asian community, same as us, they believe that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that accurate? Is that how it should be? That we feel an obligation to give to those who raised us and gave to us.
Yeah, I think you should. I think it's just being grateful, right? Understanding where you came from. It's always very important. I have this analogy I give all the time. So if you take an apple seed and you put it in soil, the soil is responsible for the growth of the tree. The apple seed can't become a tree without the proper soil, right? And so when that apple seed becomes a tree and start producing apples, the fruit of the tree basically is not for the original seed. It's for someone else. So as you become more fruitful in life, you should be sharing your success with others. Now, if you do that with your family, that's your choice, but you are obligated to share your success with others. And I think for the biggest part, I think that's where we get it wrong sometimes. We think our success is ours and it's for us and only for us to enjoy. But I've just never been of that opinion, just looking at everything that bears fruit.
I completely agree with you. And that's why it's a good truthing card for the Black community, because that's the way we thought, right?
Yeah.
But the United States, the European way of thinking is very individualistic, and you take care of yourself and that's all you're supposed to do. So I think it's a great conversation. Time for some truthing to really talk about what we feel as if what our viewpoints are when it comes to that, because that's major. Because I've heard a lot of people, even when we say we cut kids off at 18, is that the right way to be or not? Right? I don't think it is. But because we do have this dual kind of consciousness we have to lead to live, as far as like being Black but also being American. And I think those two can kind of not mesh when it comes to a lot of things, including finance and money, the way we see things.
Yeah, no, you're 100% correct. I think it's we got a long way to go, but it's always have to have collaboration and collective. Like
and
any Yeah, in conversation, right? Any mentality,
conversation.
because any mentality that doesn't align with group effort is often going to be very tough. You can't do anything on your own. Like I tell my team, the Bob family, the Bob team, they know I'm very big on that. We're a collective from the top to the bottom. Every piece is necessary, and so having discussions that talk about that are very important because sometimes you could be a part of a team and not feel like you're a part of a team.
Oh,
like with DEI, right? When you're a Black employee in a corporate environment and you feel like your opinion is not valued, or your work ethic, and your contribution is not valued, you start.
You as a person aren't
Yeah.
valued. I mean, that's the whole I in DEI, the inclusion. Like, do you feel included in your workplace? And I think that we'd find a lot of Black people that would say no, which is why, really considering being an entrepreneur is a smart move oftentimes, because we can build our own families, our own corporate families.
It's hard though, because I used to be a big advocate of everybody starting their own business.
Oh no, I'm not.
But it's tough. This is a life. This is a commitment. This is for me as an entrepreneur. God created me for this, so I'm ready for the ebbs and flows of it. But some people can't handle that, right? Some people need structure and process around them for them to be the best that they are.
Absolutely.
I think that's
I don't think people get all that being an entrepreneur is. I don't know if people understand how, you eat what you kill, all the sleepless nights. I don't, it is so much, it is 24/7.
Yes. Never break. It's Christmas. Like right now it's Christmas holidays, and we're doing a podcast, and some people in the corporate space, specifically me when I was in it, the last 2 weeks of the year, I didn't do nothing. I take off.
Right.
For the job, I do anything. I'll still do my entrepreneurial stuff, but for the job itself, you take off the last 2 or 3 weeks of the year and you don't worry about anything. But when you're an entrepreneur, there's no off.
There is no off. There is no your task list is complete. There's always, things. There's always things you could be doing, and always things that you should be doing. And so, no, I definitely I'm designed to be an entrepreneur without a doubt.
Yeah.
And I don't think everyone should do it. But those people who really have what it takes to do it, but are, holding themselves back because of fear, because of their relationship with money, because of their relationship with how they see themselves as a Black person. Some people, we have the stories we tell ourselves, like how if you've only seen yourself as an employee, then it's hard to make that jump to trust to say, you know what, I can see myself as a boss, as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, no, that's fair though. I'm a big advocate of exposure is the key to all this change that we're talking about, right? If you've never, so like when I was in corporate, I didn't see a lot of people who looked like me. I was a software engineer in the corporate space.
Yes, I read.
So I was always one of the only ones. I can't say in my career that I ever coded, on the direct team with another, Black man. I've crossed Black female coders, but very far and few, less than 5 for sure. And so an experience like that didn't make me feel like, oh man, I just want to stay in this environment. I've always wanted to be around people who look like me. I'm a FAMU grad, the best HBCU ever, by the way.
Yeah, one of the best. Somewhere Tuskegee's a little better, but
so I got the experience. I went to all white high school, but then I went to HBCUs for my collegiate experience. And so once you do that, and then you go back into the corporate space and you don't see people who look like you consistently, it's challenging. Now you do have, for us as a company, some of our corporate partners that we're partnering with, they get it and they understand it, and they're doing something about it themselves, to your point, with these DI programs that are actually doing something, right? And so that has been fun to get back into the corporate lane through those eyes, because I can speak to it from experience, like what bothered me and what I wish I would have been, included in, and I wasn't, right? So I think what you're doing is exciting. I want to definitely learn more, follow you. If I can be on the Truthing show, it'd be cool.
I would love it. I would love it.
Put my hair down a little bit. and just learn more about you. So we're going to wrap up here, but I definitely want everyone to know where to get your cards, how to find your show, any social. Please let them have it all.
Let's see. Oh, that's Randi B. On Instagram, I'm Randi__B. On TikTok, I'm the Randi B. Now, TikTok, I speak the real. People will tell you I speak the truth. I break it down, about DEI, but I don't know. It's like DEI meets hip hop or something. I don't know. Stuff like that. I tell the truth. My website is randyb.net, and you can get the cards there, or you can get them on Amazon.com. They're under truthing cards. That actual term, truthing. And my YouTube. YouTube is Randi B. And you can see the show there. Right now it's being shopped. So hopefully you will see it streaming somewhere amazing sometime in 2024.
Cool. No, that'd be extra exciting. Well, I'm so happy you came in and chill with us for a minute, enlighten us on the truthing term, where it come from, and the cards. I'm excited to get mine and have a gathering at my home and do some truthing with my family and friends and see what
I would love that. You gotta record a snippet, because I love when people send me. I have people that send me like, look at this, look what you call us, right? Yeah. It's especially fun when it's all age groups. That's really fun. So yeah, please do it and send me a video.
Okay, I can do that all day. Well, this has been another great episode of Let Bob Podcast. You can find us as a company at We Are Let Bob, and you can find me at I Am Let Bob anytime. And we're out.
It's just something that I live that this world don't live. It's just something that I feel that this world don't feel.